And bit by bit, although everyone was against the idea, and when I say everyone, I'm talking about my own family who told me, who do you think you are? To the friends, to the government, to everyone across the world. We won Africa's best space innovation company. Then we got invited to Paris, to Washington, to Kenya, to South Africa, and we won multiple awards across the world. And finally, we got invited to NASA. The image that media put out of Africa is similar to the image that the media put out of the Arab world. And that's when I noticed one of the biggest problems that we have in Zambia. So in Zambia, we have 75 million hectares of land, and only 15% is used. And that's when I came up with the idea of using satellite technology.
Yeah.
Where literally when I showed my friends places in Zambia, they were like, no way, there's no malls in Africa. I was like, first, it's Zambia, it's not all of Africa.
Yeah.
And second, there's malls, there's cars, there's everything. Also, you don't see animals passing by. I was like, well, if you go to the national park, yes, but not in the city. So it's literally, and this is educated people.
Yeah.
I believe in the next 5 to 10 years, the best place in the world is gonna be Zambia. I wasn't born in Africa, but Africa was born in me. Yeah.
What's happening, people, and welcome to the Underrated Individuals podcast. My name's Jerome Arab, and I'm going to be your host. Here we speak to people that are doing amazing things in amazing spaces, and yet we just haven't heard their stories yet. Without me wasting any more time, I'm going to hand it over to the man himself. Ahmad, please introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Ahmad, and I help people discover their superpowers. I'm a mindset and business coach. I help people and organizations get unstuck and figure out what they want to do in this life.
Man. So I like the one thing about what I'm trying to do with this is I'm unpacking this because most people, I'm going to give them perspective. You're doing stuff in Zambia that's never been done, okay? And you're not from Zambia.
No.
Right? So the first catch is, what can you tell us about what you've managed to do thus far in Zambia? You know, from especially the tech agro side where you started, like you kind of hinted at. Please tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, my story starts in Zambia for almost 10 years ago when I came first as a tourist for 1 week. And I fell in love with the country. I was like, this is a beautiful country. The people were very generous, very nice people. So when I went back home, I started thinking, how can I move to such a place? A few months later, I got the opportunity to move here and work on a project that's supposed to be 1 year. 1 year turns into 4, 4 turns into 10. Now, I came here to work in agri-tech at a company that does drip irrigation and everything related to agriculture and so on. And from there, I worked on a lot of projects, including commercial agriculture. And that's when I noticed one of the biggest problems that we have in Zambia/Africa is the lack of data. And that lack of data is disabling us from really benefiting from the perfect weather and nature that we have. So in Zambia, we have 75 million hectares of land, and only 15% is used. Yes.
Okay.
And so we're losing on a huge amount of land and resources. We have 10 months of sunshine, which is something other countries cry for, where they have 2 or 3 months per year for them to have a season for agriculture. We have 10 months, we have a lot of land, and we have a lot of water, as you know, Victoria Falls and the others. And just we cannot figure out what to do with it. So the first problem that happened is in 2018, part of the agriculture project I was working on, we decided to plant tomatoes because tomatoes was a very sexy thing to do. It was about $20 per box, which is quite good money. But then everyone in the nation decided to do tomatoes. So the price of the box dropped to $1. So when your cost price was 5, now it's $1 in the market, and you have to still drive there and deliver and so on. People started destroying their crops, and they went into debt. 2020, no one planted tomatoes. Price of the box went to $45, and people suffered again because tomatoes is a staple food here. So we just don't know what to do with our agriculture. We need data, and we don't have data. If we want to test the soil in Zambia, we have to take that soil sample and send it to South Africa, wait 2 weeks for us to get results. So from that irritation, and from my background, which is tech, I decided to jump into something new. How can I get data about my land, but also about everyone's land? Because I worked with a lot of different farmers, and that's when I came up with the idea of using satellite technology. Now, satellite technology is a big word, which comes with a big budget, and not everyone can afford it. And that's why I decided to use the power of AI to get satellite data from different satellite providers, play with it, make sense of it, and send it to the farmer for less than $1 per month, for them to get an idea of what to plant, where to plant, what water they need to add, if they need fertilizer, if there's any problems with the crops. And we started working on something that's never been done before. And bit by bit, although everyone was against the idea, and when I say everyone, I'm talking about my own family who told me, who do you think you are? To the friends, to the government, to everyone across the world. And for 2 years, we didn't have anything to show. But 2 years later of a lot of resilience, we won Africa's Best Space Innovation Company. Then we got invited to Paris, to Washington, to Kenya, to South Africa, and we won multiple awards across the world. And finally, we got invited to NASA, where they wanted to adopt our idea into their own program. So that's one of the projects I worked on, or I'm working on. It's now more or less in the background while we're figuring more stuff out with the use of AI, and we're working with different NGOs and companies to make this available for everyone across Zambia, but later on across the world, because it's using orbital satellites that go around all the globe every day. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so
you understand somebody else only when you start to see how they live, what struggles they have to overcome. And I
pick up the pace. Pick up the pace and
The
run.
only thing you care about is money.
Pick up the pace and run.
it's because of him that we are alive.
Pick up the pick up the pick up the pick up the
You said the same, I was going to say.
I'ma switch up the tone, kill them in my zone. Pick up the pace and run. So far from gone, I'm here alone. Yeah, you can say I'm on one. No need to try, I'm so alive. Don't get it twisted, son. All in good time, but I'ma get mine. Fire's gonna burn, yeah. Head down, me now waste time fighting. Small town, but me big boy writing. Big sound of the girl them biting. Waiting for a brother to pull up. So pick up
The honor, the excitement, and what I'm looking forward to with being part of this project. I think if you ask anybody in the world, I don't care where they're from, where they are, what makes them feel seen, understood, is when they can see themselves in a story, when they can see that they're part of this conversation. And I think that's the honor of being a part of this project from a story equity. Man, like empathy is only part of, you understand somebody else only when you start to see how they live, what struggles they have to overcome. And I think this project just does that with so many like really well-formed characters, deeply thought out plot lines. And man, it's like I was telling Jerome, the writer, I was like, man, I've never read a script from the top to the bottom where I'm just like, I'm in. I want to be a part of this. And that's what's so exciting about this. I get to tell a story from where I'm from. It's just kids will be able to see that. They'll be able to say, hey, I recognize myself in that, and I see that I'm part of the conversation. And I think we do the world a major service when we can tell stories from South America, Africa, from Australia, wherever that is, and different cultures, different people, different races, different creeds, whatever it is. But if you can tell stories from all of those people, then all of a sudden we start to understand each other better. You know what I mean? I think that's the beauty of story, and I think that's what's really exciting for me about being a part of the project. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
There's a little bit of insight as to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
So I'm originally from Lebanon. Yes. But I consider myself African. As I say, Africa, I wasn't born in Africa, but Africa was born in me.
Man.
Yeah.
And I guess to touch on that, like we have, even within Africa, we have this dynamic. Like as you can see, like my skin tone isn't the same skin tone as, some people from here. It's similar to more people maybe from like Eastern Africa or whatever it is. But there's so much that's taken place where when people ask, so what is it that makes you African? And I always say, it's not what you take away from a space, it's what you give to a space that makes you part of it.
Yeah.
When you integrate into a community and you try and serve a community, you are of that space because you're trying to make sure you uplift people.
Yeah.
So part of me highlighting this is you keep on saying we,
Yeah.
So you're not a one-man show. Who's part of your team?
Definitely. So part of my team depends on which project.
Well, let's keep with the agrotech.
So the
side of-
agrotech, I have a Zambian guy who's a partner of mine.
Yeah.
He's an agronomist, and then he studied remote sensing once we collaborated, and then now he's leading that. And we have a couple of students who are interning and working with us on the same concept. Now we're collaborating with another person who's from Ireland, who comes with the sustainability and land management aspect to add to that. So it's becoming something really nice and opening more doors for us and so on. We're also collaborating with the likes of like World Vision and WWF and so on, that comes with even more projects and so on that we can do. Yeah.
Man. So we got a young man in Lebanon. You come to Zambia on holiday, kind of nearly,
Yeah.
right? You go back and you're thinking about how do I get back to that space. You get here and you start to do these amazing things.
Yeah.
Talk about you mentioned family.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit more, because I think it's good for us to hear as well, because we all talk about African parents, and we always like, African dads and moms, they always telling us to take the safe path, and the safe path is dependent on also so many different factors for so many different people, but be a doctor, be a lawyer, be this, work for the family, do this. Like we all get the same thing. So hearing you say that your family were against you being in this space,
Yeah.
in what way, what happened? Do you mind sharing?
Well, you see, I come from an Arab world,
Yeah.
which is also comes with its own traditions and restrictions and so on. And my family is more or less between modern and traditional at the same time. So I had that same fight. And I actually studied medicine for 1 year. And then without anyone knowing, I dropped and I went into software engineering, which my parents were against it, but they just didn't know until I was third year and it was too late. But even me coming here was something like, why would you leave Lebanon and the American university, where I had a high position in the American university, to come to Zambia or to Africa? The image that media put out of Africa is similar to the image that the media put out of the Arab world. Yeah. So the Arab world is people blowing themselves, everyone is wearing black stuff, and people don't have a life.
Yeah.
Okay. which is very different from Lebanon. Lebanon is a very fun place with clubs, with DJs, with beaches, with parties, with life. A lot of people don't even know that Lebanon is 50% Muslim, 50% Christian.
Christian, yeah.
And people will be like, what? We thought all the Arab world is just Muslims. So there's a lot of that misconception.
Yeah.
But that's the same also for
Africa, yeah.
where literally when I showed my friends places in Zambia, they were like, no way, there's no malls in Africa. I was like, first, it's Zambia, it's not all of Africa.
Yeah.
And second, there's malls, there's cars, there's everything. Also, you don't see animals passing by. I was like, well, if you go to the national park, yes. But not in the city. So it's literally, and this is educated people.
Yep.
But it's just what the media is showing out there is like that. And that's why even when I talk to people in production in Zambia, I'm very irritated when that's what they show. In the video clips and the movies, they still shed light on that. And I'm trying to change that whole idea.
That narrative, yeah.
Yeah. So to show that Zambia is beautiful, Zambia is a place where businesses can grow, where companies can open, where investment can happen. Yeah. So I spoke about the tech side, but I'm a business developer. So I come to companies and grow them. And one of them is the tech thing. Another thing is a production company that you know about. And we're doing a talent show that people saying like the idols. It's called The Icon, actually.
Yeah.
So that's something very different. I also do mental health coaching where I go to communities, I go to compounds and sit with people and teach them how to change their mindset and how to change the narrative for the whole continent to change. And I think the biggest question that you didn't ask yet, why Zambia? Why Africa?
Yeah, I was getting there. And I'm like,
I believe in the next 5 to 10 years, the best place in the world is going to be Zambia. I truly believe that. Economically, stability, environmentally, everything, I believe here is a very good place to be. And I've seen a lot of my friends from different places moving into Zambia and saying, like, we don't want to be in America, we don't want to be in Europe, we don't want to be there. This is where we found peace, this is where we found connection with nature, connection with people, and we want to be here.
You see, it's so funny because we've had a lot of conversations prior to this with a lot of friends, and I always say I'm going back home. And home for me is Zambia, Zimbabwe, both spaces. But I do a lot of stuff in Zambia. Like sometimes when we speak to people are like, well, you're not Zambian because they've seen me so much, you know. But I get exactly what you're saying about this as a space, what it's developing into, you know, even the way we're thinking about things. Is I feel certain spaces, and I don't like to say the West because that's quite broad, but like I'll use the UK for example. It's developed so much, right, that it's gotten to a point that it's hard to move in a different direction.
Yeah.
So it's already on this railway line going high speed in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to hit brakes and go in a different direction.
Yeah.
Whereas in Zambia, I feel is still developing.
Yeah.
You know, so there's space for us to look at where people have gone wrong and look at where people have gone right, and even go back to our own cultures and see where we've gone wrong and where we've gone right and carry on moving. You know, like you gave some amazing stats about how much land is being utilized in terms of Zambia. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of unutilized land. And utilized, I think when people think about that, they think about big skyscrapers and stuff. But no, that's like a very backward way of thinking.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about what could you do on it that is productive and sustainable. So I do a lot of stuff around environmental security. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the questions that's on top of my mind is, what are your thoughts about environmental security in Zambia right now? Mm-hmm. Like, what are your ideas and how do you feel about it?
Well, there's a lot of work being done related to that sector. I also work with that sector and I advocate for climate change stuff related to the same satellite monitoring, because through satellite you can see a lot of different things, from the rise of CO2 or methane or cutting down the trees and so on. We are on the right path, but also I think that we're paying a price for a crime we didn't commit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the same. So yeah.
So although we need to be aware and everything, but I think our progression is being stopped because we have to take care of the environment a lot compared to other countries that were able to progress really fast because they didn't have that in their agenda. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying cut down the trees, but I'm saying that we should focus more on how we can develop than to how to not develop. Yeah, which comes with unique solutions, and that's something what I say is that one of the mindsets that I'm trying to change with my work in Zambia and in Africa is the catch-up game. Everyone is looking to catch up with what the West has done. But I believe if we let go of that and we start creating our own unique solutions,
our own
we
ideas.
can come up with something really great. And the biggest proof for that is mobile money.
Yeah.
Mobile money started in Africa.
Yeah.
And it's something where you take out your phone, I can send you money, you can send me money, we can pay anywhere. And this has been here for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And now the West is catching up.
It's adapting.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so there's this thing called brood parasitism. I mean, I've mentioned it a few times, in a lot of conversations. I don't know how much you know about it.
Nothing.
So brood parasitism is where we have a cuckoo, the bird, or cuckoo, and it lays its eggs in the crow's nest. When the crow's like out trying to get food or whatever, and when the crow comes back, it nurses those eggs, and then those eggs hatch. In some cases, I usually go extreme, and I'm like, yeah, those eggs eat the other eggs. So and then the crows looked after these babies that are not the crow's babies. Yeah. I feel Africa has been guilty of that exact same concept where somebody else has laid its eggs in our nest, and we've harbored and we've looked after those eggs, and those eggs hatch, and we can't see ourselves in those eggs because guess what? They're not us. They're not our ideas, and we need to get to a point where we start to actually define what success and what development in this case looks like for us. People talk about a hut being backward, and I always say, okay, you say a hut is backward. How often have you seen aircon being used in a hut? That technology is so far advanced because it's always cool when it's like, hot outside, and it's always warm when it's cold outside. That is tech on a different level, So I agree with you on so many different levels. Like, we need to look at us and develop our own understanding and our own ideas. But then obviously comes in, looking for money and politics and all of that stuff. So without us even going into that sector, because I don't feel like I want to touch on that too much. You're working on a talent show right now with the production house, the Icon you've mentioned. What would you say has been your highest, or your biggest takeaway from entering into this space? Like, I've lived in this space my whole life, so you kind of new to that space. So what could you say you've looked at and you've been like, oh, if there's anything that people should, like, let's even make it more direct. If the contestants were watching this right now, with all of the information that you've gathered, all the data that you've analyzed, what do you want them to take away from the show?
Okay, that's two different questions.
So
So the second one, what I want them to take first is that this show, although the concept is similar to other shows like X Factor and Idol and so on, but it's not a copy of that, and it's gonna be, and it is very unique in a lot of different ways. First, from being online, because we don't have power. People don't have their TVs on because we don't have power, which is a problem that is really African currently. But secondly, because we're not trying to imitate something that's out there. We are trying to showcase Zambia and African heritage and tradition. And that's why in the episodes that are coming, you're gonna see people playing on Zambian and African instruments, wearing stuff like cultural stuff, and singing songs in the local languages. And what I never expected, because I listen to music, but I usually listen to music that I understand. But being in the show and someone is just singing in Nyanja or in Lozi, and I have no idea what they're saying, but I find myself tearing up because of the emotion, because of the beauty of their singing. I'd be like, wow, this is literally universal language. So it was really beautiful to see that. And this is what we want to show the world. That we have talents, we have uniqueness that needs to be celebrated, not to be copying what's happening in the West. That's one. The first question, which is a much deeper one for me, is that my whole perspective on life changed because of this project. 3 months ago, if I was watching one of my favorite video clips of someone singing, okay, let's say Alan Walker or whatever it is, okay, I was seeing the video clip, I was listening to the music, and wow, okay, I love it, and so on. I've seen it 100 times maybe. When I watched it recently, my whole perspective changed completely. Because now I'm not seeing as a viewer anymore. I'm seeing it with a different lens. I'm seeing, oh, look at this camera angle. Oh, look how they made this light. Oh, look how they cut this and jumped into this. So my whole perspective on something that I've been seeing over and over all my life completely changed just by acquiring knowledge. So it made me think, like, how blind am I to a lot of things that I think I can see and I know, but I actually just don't have knowledge to understand them. And it just humbled me so much. Yeah.
Man, it's been like, I'm going to close off, and the reason why I'm closing off is not because I want to end the conversation, but it's because I know the conversation has so much more. And I think this is a beautiful introduction for me, like, you know, to have you here as a brother, sharing. And also, I'd like to just commend you for coming to a space and making it your home and not waiting for somebody to open the door and welcome you in, but understanding you bring something to the table and sharing. There's a big difference as well. Like, did you ever feel before, last question, and then I'll ask you to share one more thing before we go, but did you feel that there was, you've heard about the white savior complex?
Yeah.
Yeah? Did you ever have any of those feelings?
Well, look, I've grew up in a home where we are mixed. Like, I have family in Africa, so I have cousins who are mixed. And I've had, in my family, we're also mixed religions and so on. So we've never seen people as this is white, black, gray, whatever it is.
It's people.
So it's always just people. But I have faced, whether in Zambia or whether in America, wherever I've gone, I've faced racism, positive and negative racism.
Yeah.
And both of them irritate me the same. So when I'm standing in a bank queue in Zambia, and the manager tells me, "Oh, you can step to the beginning of the queue," I get really irritated. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, because I look like I have more money, or what? Like, it irritates me. And the same when I be mistreated because I'm different, also it irritates me. So unfortunately, it's something that we need, I don't know, a mass wipe of for us to fix. But I think it's there. But Zambians are very friendly anyway.
Yeah.
And I think, like, it's very rare for you to go anywhere in Zambia, any restaurant or a place or a club or so on, and not find people who are not Zambian. This is how welcoming they are. And I just love that. Yeah.
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 I think it's like I always, like, my wife has these feelings. She's half Zambian, half Scottish. And we were shooting something, and she was like, you know, she made a comment, and it made me feel like, oh, but these are your people, you know, like, don't distance yourself. Yeah. And I think, as I said, it's all about the intentions and always understanding that you're bringing something to the table, but so are they. Like, we're collaborating, you know, like, funny enough, like, we've got Gob sat down there, you know, his gears all here, he's shooting this, and we partnered instantly. Like, I met Gob last week, and I didn't even hesitate. I was like, you've got something and I've got something, and we are coming together, you know. And when you do that well, you know, you've come to Zambia, you've made partners, you've made friends, you've made family members, you know, like, we've talked so little, but I feel like I know you so much about you
Yeah.
because I see so much of myself inside you that once that wall is gone, it's easy to move. Yeah. So before we close, what would you say is, if there's a life lesson you could share with the audience, what would that lesson be?
Well, you touched on it just now. Well, the biggest lesson ever is collaboration is the new competition. No matter how good you are and how good I am alone, if someone is collaborating with another person, they will beat us.
Yeah.
So let's collaborate and make this world better. That's it.
Man. Oh, thank you for being on this episode, and big shout outs to you all. Remember to subscribe. And if you like what we're talking about, if you have any questions, please hit us up down there. Check out our description for any information related to Ahmad's his projects, because as he said, collaboration is key. And sometimes collaboration isn't necessarily you being involved directly in the project, but it's you being aware and knowing what's happening in order to relay that off to who it may benefit. So thank you guys for watching, and check us out soon. Peace.
Peace.
Cut.